It's safe to say the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the largest film franchise on the planet, at least in terms of box office earnings. The 23 films have earned a total of $22.5 billion worldwide, an average of almost $1 billion per film. The franchise has redefined the superhero genre with its cinematic, film-by-film storytelling, the first superhero film to receive a Best Picture nomination, and its ability to unite A-list actors in a way we have never seen before. So it goes without saying that the MCU is certainly not Lost and Found. Lost and Found, of course, is the video series I run where I talk about films and television I'm passionate about and in some way are underrated. With that, we come to today's question. What MCU film is underrated? I actually think the answer is kinda obvious, but I'll let you think for a moment. If you were to take a look at sheer box office results alone, the answer might be more obvious than you thought. I think on a thematic, cinematic, and pure film level, the answer is still pretty obvious. I'm of course referring to the 2008 film, The Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk was directed by French film director and starred Ed Norton as the highly intelligent Bruce Banner and unstoppable monster, the Hulk. Despite coming out months after the famed first film in the MCU, Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk scored an underwhelming $264 million worldwide at the box office, on a rather large $150 million budget. The film received generally favorable reviews with a 67% on Rotten Tomatoes. The film received credit for the visual style, wonderful score from Craig Armstrong, and its rather witty script. It also took some backlash for the noisy, mindless action scenes, and some felt the screenplay, while witty, wasn't necessarily deep either. The Incredible Hulk follows Bruce Banner after he has turned from scientist to the Hulk. He is on the run, hiding in the remote town in Brazil while the US military attempts to find him. General Ross, who is leading the capture attempt, puts Emil Blonsky at front and center in the capture attempt, unknowingly creating a monster far worse than the Abomination. I had first seen The Incredible Hulk in theaters in 2008 and was impressed with the visuals, the intense action sequences, and the usage of the Hulk. It wasn't a Christopher Nolan film, but it wasn't meant to be either. The film came out to DVD, which I watched once more, and my thought about the film kinda waned. In my opinion, it did so for others as well. With majority of the world watching through all of the MCU films, to stop and go back to The Incredible Hulk is a far different feeling. In my opinion, if the MCU films were to take a knock, it's the lack of visual style, primarily from choice directing talents. While each film does have a cohesive look, they after a while feel all too polished. The Incredible Hulk, much like its older brother Iron Man, both have a visual style that, while feel relevant to the universe, feel unique to the director. It isn't necessarily a breathtaking film, but some of the directing decisions, primarily in the first reveal of the Hulk, are done so well. The character of the Hulk has a mighty weight to him. He should feel incredibly imposing and dangerous at all times. The direction and the script by Zach Penn really create that sense of danger. Norton's take as Bruce Banner was quite good in my opinion.
I think because of Edward Norton, because he's a very idiosyncratic and fine actor in all kinds of things, he's bringing kind of a gravity to it.
And like Robert Downey Jr. with Iron Man, he's taking this role as seriously as he would an independent film that's striving for, Oscars.
None of this should be surprising as the actor has 3 Academy Award nominations. The role of Banner is played with a level of noticeable intelligence, but a touch of desperation.
You don't understand the power of this thing. It is too dangerous. It cannot be controlled.
Unfortunately, Norton was eventually replaced by Mark Ruffalo, who would carry the torch through the MCU films as the character of Banner and the Hulk. A lot of conspiracy has been built up about Norton leaving, including financial reasons for not retaining the actor. The folks at Marvel said it wasn't based on monetary factors, but instead were seeking an actor who embodied the creativity and collaborative spirit of other talented cast members.
It sounds like bullshit.
Norton had previously made snide comments about the film's script being more empty than he was promised, and his disappointment at no follow-up to the Incredible Hulk sequel. 4 years after Norton was cast, he addressed the situation with more candor than he did before, stating, "Maybe on some unconscious level, I didn't want to have an association with one thing in any way degrade my effectiveness as an actor and characters. I think you can sort of do anything once, but if you do it too many times, it can become a suit that's hard to take off in other people's eyes."
Robert Downey Jr., as amazing as he is always going to be Iron Man. Like that, sometimes you get one of those roles, like Thor, Chris Hemsworth. He's fucking Thor, dude. You're Thor forever. You flirted with that.
It depends on, and I think it depends on how many of them you do.
But when you did the Hulk, were you worried about that?
A little bit.
a statement some might see as true, especially with an actor like Robert Downey Jr. The actor's first project outside of the MCU, Doolittle, was one of the biggest box office bombs in recent memory. As for the recasting, veteran actor Mark Ruffalo would take over as the Hulk. Ruffalo's first time in the role in the film The Avengers was actually quite good. I think they made some improvements to Norton's Hulk visually. The action was well done, and I felt like the tone of Banner was correct and current to that of Norton's. Unfortunately, for me, every performance after suffers, including his final in Endgame. While I do understand they're going for the Professor Hulk look, seeing the Hulk in a cardigan reduced that anxiety, that danger the Hulk always possesses. It is certainly a far cry from that Brazilian action sequence in The Incredible Hulk. As for The Incredible Hulk, it certainly isn't a deep film. A lot of the scenes are handled effectively enough to get to the action sequences. The Brazilian factory scene, as previously mentioned, is handled incredibly well, as is for the final action scene, which is of course noisy and over the top. The Abomination was a perfect villain for the Hulk, albeit copy, paste, and lacking any real motive. Arguably, the biggest action scene in the film comes in the middle, which takes place at a college. As elaborate of a scene as it is, this is where the visual effects suffer with age. It's also incredibly stupid that the military decided to take lethal action to stop an unstoppable monster in broad daylight at a college campus. I can't imagine anything horrific happening, like students walking around and, getting crushed. Oh well, what do I know? The Incredible Hulk isn't necessarily a great film, but it is well done.
Hulk! Smash!
Zach Penn has a knack for finding a clever, tongue-in-cheek approach to writing excessive action, as he did with one of my favorite films of all time, The Last Action Hero.
You want to be a farmer? Here's a couple of acres.
This isn't to say the film isn't so witty, so aware that makes it some sort of highbrow film, but it certainly isn't a dumb action schlock. The performances are great, primarily with Norton and William Hurt delivering standout performances throughout the flick.
We made this thing. All of us. Please.
I also thought Liv Tyler was quite good as Betty Ross. It's a real shame that the film is arguably the most underrated in the MCU, as I feel it does enough to justify its existence and run with the torch that it received from Iron Man.
What if I told you we were putting a team together? Who's we?
It wasn't a smash hit, but it was surely one hell of a ride. Thanks so much for watching, Tots. I hope you all enjoy the film. Please remember to subscribe, like the video, and leave me a comment on what you thought about the film. Big shout out to my Patreon supporters. See you soon, Tots.